Hello, dear students of Askademic. I'm so pleased to tell you that we had come to part 5, to the last lesson of our introduction to reported speech, a course created by Askademic for intermediate students. And I am so excited to have come to this point because I have accompanied you through this reported speech learning journey, and we have come to an end. So I hope that you have learned by the time we have finished this video and acquired all the concepts related to reported speech in English. Let's take a look at our course plan. On lesson 1, we introduced reported speech. On lesson 2, we learned how to report statements. On lesson 3, we learned how to report questions. On lesson 4, we learned how to report functions. We have worked really hard, and now we have come to a point where we're going to summarize everything we have learned so far on this course. So let's get started. We are on lesson 5, and this is a summary. We have already said that we can report what someone has said in 2 different ways: by using direct speech or indirect speech. If we use direct speech, we repeat the speaker's exact words. We use inverted commas, and we also use a comma or colon within the inverted commas. For example, I'm studying English at Askademic, she said, or she said, I'm studying English at Askademic. Or, as I said before, we can use indirect or reported speech. We can use a reporting verb like say, tell, ask, etc. We generally change the tense one step back in time, and we call that backshift. It's not always necessary, of course, as we will see in a minute. We said that the word that can be omitted in informal speech. She says that she's studying English at Askademic, or she said that she was studying English at Askademic. As we have already mentioned, the usual changes that take place when reporting statements are changes in verb tenses, pronouns, word order, and time and place of reference. I like tea, she said, or she said that she liked tea, that there was a backshift in time, or she says that she likes tea. So sometimes it's not necessary, depending on the context, to change verb tenses, so we can keep the original tense. We have already seen that we use a reporting verb, that we generally change the tense one step back in time. We call that backshifting, depending on the situation. We don't use inverted commas when we report, and no comma or colon is placed before the remark. Now, that was about statements. Now let's pass on to the usual changes when reporting questions. We have already learned that when reporting questions, the same changes take place, like verb tenses, pronouns, word order, time and place of reference change, but also the form of the original questions change into a statement. And we omit the auxiliary verbs, do, does, did, etc., and the question marks. For example, what's your last name? She asked me, and this is a WH question. We have the word what. She asked me what my last name was. So notice how all the previously mentioned changes took place, right? It's not a question anymore, it's a statement. From present we changed to past tense, and we keep the WH word because it's a WH question. Also, pronouns have changed. What's your last name? She asked me what my last name was. Then we have already learned that there are yes-no questions, questions that can be answered by means of yes or no. So, are you having a good day? She wanted to know if I was having a good day. So, we have already seen that we can use if to report a yes-no question. But also, we also learned that when we have two options in yes-no questions, we use whether. Do you want some fish or pasta? She asked me whether I wanted some fish or pasta. So we don't use if in this case, we use whether. So when reporting WH questions, we normally use the WH word reported by the reported clause. So she asked me why I had to leave. She wanted to know where the store was. When are you leaving? He asked. He asked me when I was leaving. So we normally use the WH word followed by the reported clause when reporting WH questions. However, when reporting yes-no questions, we normally use asked followed by an if clause or a whether clause. So, are you serious? She wanted to know if I was serious. Or if you have two options, do you like boys or girls? She asked me whether I liked boys or girls. So we use whether when there are two options. We also learned that when we are reporting functions, we use the word functions to refer to parts of speech we use to give advice, commands, make requests or warnings, also suggestions. And we have learned that when using the following verbs, advise, tell, ask, and warn, we use a personal object pronoun plus an infinitive clause. We will see an example in a minute. And we have also learned that the verb suggest is different and that it is followed by a that clause or a verb plus ing, but it is never followed by an infinitive, by a to infinitive clause. Let's report this function. When reporting advice, for example, in direct speech, you should take a rest. In reported speech, he advised me to take a rest. So we use the personal object pronoun plus the infinitive clause. But when using the verb suggest, it's a different story. So in direct speech, let's go to the park can be reported in three different ways. He suggested that we go to the park or that we should go to the park. He suggested that we went to the park, or he suggested going to the park. So we use suggest plus a that clause, and we can't use the infinitive, the to infinitive form with the verb suggest. So this is a summary, as we have already said, and the usual changes in verb tenses, and the examples are mixed here. We will find statements, questions, and functions, like giving advice or like suggestions. From simple present, we change into simple past. So present simple changes to past simple. Are you okay? She asked me. She asked me, or she wanted to know if I was okay. Present continuous changes into past continuous. I'm learning reported speech, he said. He said he was learning reported speech. Did you visit Japan last year? She asked me. She asked me if I had visited Japan the previous year. So notice that past simple changes to past perfect. Present perfect changes to past perfect. I have finished, she said. She said she had finished or that she had finished. Past continuous changes into past perfect continuous. What were you doing at this time 1 year ago? So this is getting more complicated. So she asked me what I was doing at that time the previous year. For the future simple, I will move to England. We see that future simple, will, changes to conditional simple or would. So I will move to England, he said. He said he would move to England. Can changes to could. Can you give me a hand? She asked me. She asked me if I could give her a hand. Notice that we can use ask, inquire, etc. among other verbs to report questions. Like he asked me what my favorite color was, or he inquired if I had finished, so depending on whether it's a formal or informal context. Or we may say he wanted to know whether I wanted tea or coffee. The changes in time and place of reference are typically and always the same. Today changes to that day, tomorrow changes to the next or following day, yesterday changes to the day before or the previous day, 2 days ago or 3 days ago or whatever changes into 2 days before, now to then, here to there, come to go, and this changes to that. And here let's take a look at these examples. Do you like this car? She asked me. She asked me if I liked that car. So this changes to that. Will you come to the club tomorrow? He asked me. He asked me if I would go to the club the following day. So come changes to go and tomorrow changes to the following day. So the moment has come. It's time to practice. We're going to do it together, and these exercises are mixed. We will find reporting statements, reporting questions, and reporting functions here. Let's get started. Let's complete these statements together. What kind of food do you like? He asked me. Are you ready? What kind of food I liked? Well done. Number 2. Do you live in a house or in an apartment? So here we have 2 options. What happens when we have 2 options in questions? She asked me whether I lived in a house or in an apartment. Number 3, do you understand? The teacher asked me if I understood. How are you getting on so far? Okay, I'm pretty sure that you are doing very well. Can you open your eyes, please? The doctor asked me to open my eyes. The doctor asked me to open my eyes with a to infinitive clause. Did you call me yesterday? He asked me if I had called him the previous day. Right? Number 7. And pay attention to this one. Will you travel to Chile or Peru next year? So notice we have will, it's a question, and we have 2 options. And notice also next year. So there are several changes here. He asked me whether I would travel to Chile or Peru the following year. Are you coming tomorrow? He asked me if I was coming the next or following day. Number 9, let's eat spaghetti. Remember what we said about the verb suggest? It is a special verb. It doesn't behave like the other function verbs. So let's think of 3 different possibilities after the verb suggest. Let's eat spaghetti. She suggested eating spaghetti, that we should eat spaghetti, or that we ate spaghetti. Remember that we can also say that we eat spaghetti without should. So I'm so excited. We're getting to the end. Oh my God. We have worked so hard and we deserve to have learned so much in this 5 lessons on this course. So number 10, you shouldn't buy that house. Remember what we said about shouldn't, a negative statement. So he advised me not to buy that house. Well, I would like to thank you on behalf of Askademic. I hope you have enjoyed this course on reported speech. It was an introduction to reported speech, specifically created for students of English with an intermediate level. So I hope to see you soon, and I'm glad to have helped you, to have accompanied you through this reported speech learning journey. Bye-bye.